Hi, I'm Anjali, creative force behind Quintessential Studio and creator of Sultry Akashic Healing. Welcome to the third and final episode in this series, Pathways to Higher Being, that features salt of the earth type guests who display the extraordinary in ordinary miracles. Whether it's by happenstance or synchronicity that you've had a quintessential experience, often these unexplained phenomena of personal transformation come once we've set our intention for change. We know that we have the capacity to heal ourselves, but how does that happen? In Sultry Akashic healing, it happens at spiritual level first, and when you synchronize healing at energetic and physical levels at the same time, it becomes harmonized healing that makes the impact for lasting change. Sometimes you feel like you have to recommit regularly, like you have to work for it every moment of every day, until you discover that it's this self-remembrance that is the pathway to higher being, and it's available in all everyday moments. This episode is rated E for everyone because how our guest today handles life's toughest challenges on a daily basis, on a minute-to-minute basis, is what we all need to consider applying in our own lives. Again, a pathway to higher being comes with the intention, and Marlene teaches us that the set and forget method, that's not what works. It's about ongoing remembrance and repeated committed conscious choice to be in connection to your higher being, however you perceive that. Meet Marlene and find out how her creativity through her painting and her poetry keeps her choice active and alive and is the alchemical transmutation for healing from stage 4 cancer. Get ready to learn how to live well once you're faced with the very down-to-earth sudden reality of dying. Meet Marlene. So today we're very, very happy to introduce Marlene Z. She's originally from New England, and today she's going to tell us a very poignant story of her experience, which she has described as a pre-death experience. And she's going to also talk to us about some miraculous transformation and some important messages that have come with this unique experience that she has been going through. So Marlene, we are ready for you to share with us anything you're willing to tell us.
Thank you, Anjali. I'm really delighted to be here. It's really a cancer journey, but it's a journey of, I'll just say, opening further, and then opening more, and then surrendering more. So almost 5 years ago now, I got a cancer diagnosis of stage 4 metastatic cancer, lung cancer, that had spread to my brain and my spine. So we found it because it actually broke my spine, and it was the back pain that finally had the doctors at the HMO check me out, even though I had been complaining about other things for a few years. For me, it was shocking and not shocking. I think intuitively I knew something was definitely wrong. And it brought me face to face with death. So offered me a general chemo. I said, thank you, but no thank you. I'd rather bet on my immune system, and I'd rather, I don't want to do that for a few extra months of life. And I was pretty frail, and I did not have a near-death experience in terms of actually dying and going to the other side and coming back. But I'd say I was maybe a half a step away from death at that point. It looked like I would be on the earth plane by all objective measures for maybe a couple months more. I worked with accepting, allowing. There was definitely grief about leaving things, but I felt taken care of by the spiritual realm, and I do not know how to explain that better, but it was just feeling taken care of. When you get a cancer diagnosis, everybody weighs in on what you should do. and people mean well, they love you, and they want you to, and they're afraid, but it's so overwhelming. So I just stopped listening to all of that and just really went with my intuition. A doctor who basically got referred to me 2 different places. I just kind of had a deep yes. And he was one of the premier lung cancer specialists, and he turned into my oncologist. And he, first thing he said to me was, I'd be willing to bet that you do have a treatable mutation. Oh. And I knew he was right. But the day I had a second consultation with this doctor was also the very last day that we could open enroll and basically change our insurance through my husband's work. So we just were like, yes, we're going to do this and change. And so I did have the other biopsy, and sure enough, I did have a treatable mutation.
What sign and signal did you receive that you were on the right path?
And I just knew it was going to work for me. I mean, I just knew I was going to have a mutation, and I knew the drug was going to work for me, at least for a period of time.
Okay.
And when I started taking it, it was 2016, December 24th, so Christmas Eve.
Damn. I've been having sleigh bells going here, and I was trying to not interrupt you. I went like this thinking that Mark might be able to hear them as well, and it was over there. And I thought, I've got to ask her if this was Christmas.
It was. First day, and it was kind of a miracle because it also was the first night of Hanukkah that year, and they coincided, so it was quite auspicious.
Okay.
But I actually started the medication in the morning, and where I live in Colorado, you can kind of see the Rocky Mountains from my back windows. So I just invoked that essence and the power and did a blessing over the pill, and had my eyes closed before I took it and just asked for it to do exactly what it needed to do and no more. And all of a sudden I heard birds, and I opened my eyes, and my backyard was filled. I'm not kidding. Wall to wall birds everywhere, all sorts of different kinds of birds, robins and doves and starlings and stuff, birds I didn't even know. But it wasn't just, a few scattered around. It was like they were crowded into the bushes, and they were lining the lawn. And I knew that was a blessing. I knew that was not ordinary. It was December 24th in a cold climate. And
so this was your message. You were also on the right path.
And as soon as I took the pill, I could feel it working in me. And within a week, I mean, I had been on oxygen 24/7. I was, and within a week, I went out to dinner with my husband and my daughter, and and it took a little while, but really I got so much better so quickly. And just these little things that seem like a miracle, walking outside to get the newspaper, taking a little walk with my husband and dog.
Yeah.
I mean, things I thought I would never do again, possibly. And so anyway, that was pretty wonderful, and I knew I was being taken care of. I don't have another way of explaining it. Prior to starting the medication, there was a part of me that was kind of fine with, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going home. It's okay. And I had grief about leaving things, but I didn't feel afraid. But underneath that, or behind it, there was this voice from wherever those voices come from, that said, no, not yet. You are to learn to be the expanse of everything within the confines of this body and within the confines of this physical existence.
This was the message.
Yeah, I kind of think that's like all of our purposes here, but yes. I was given that message very specifically. In the spring, after I started really getting better and could do a lot of things again, pretty much have my normal life again, I auspiciously met a wonderful abstract artist at in where I live. There's lots of different open studio tours and things, and she was showing her art in an open studio, and I'd seen her art before, and I loved it. And she started painting late in life also, and she had undergone some breast cancer, and we were just talking and talking, and we really hit it off. And she wanted to help me start painting, and she said to me, "You should paint your cancer journey." And I literally heard, "You should paint God." And I was like, "What? How does anyone do such a thing?" You know, and
Yeah.
I just kind of forgot about it. And I did start painting. And the only thing I knew is that the painting just brought me huge joy. And I realized this is how we find our purpose. This is how we actually help other people, is by allowing ourselves to follow our joy and not denying it. And so that's all I really knew. It was very non-conceptual. I wouldn't say I was painting my feelings. It was painting something, but it wasn't a concept of what anything was supposed to be. And every now and again, why am I painting this? What happened here? What is this? And at a certain point, I realized, what I'm painting or attempting to paint, or what I'm allowing to come through me, it's like this inseparability of the physical realm in the unseen world, in spirit.
Yes.
And, and and I don't even like all of my paintings, but it's like when something is done and some things are to be painted over, and some things I clearly get the message, no, you leave that. And so that's been really a wonderful process and a wonderful form of expression for me. A dear friend of mine, very dear friend of mine, her name was Carol. She had multiple myeloma, which is a cancer of the bones. And 5 years after her diagnosis, the chemotherapy had worked very well on her. I mean, I'm not against Western medicine, but, with discretion. And also Western medicine really saved my life because I was so far gone. But I remember getting a message from Carol. I was on a trip, and she said, none of the chemos are working. They told me to go into hospice. So I was one of the people who was honored to help her die. And during that process, there were things that were hard for her letting go. And she, at one point, even murmured, "How do I do it? Do I go out my heart?" And I just, stroked her head and said, "Oh, honey, yes, you can go out your heart, but you can also go out the top of your head." And I said, "You don't have to try. You'll be guided. You'll be guided. And there's so much light for you, and there's no more efforting. You get to just relax and try." And while I'm saying all these things, I'm like, "Marlene, this is important stuff. What are you saying? How do you know that's true?" I kind of have a little voice of doubt creep in. And I knew I needed to go for a hike. Now, mind you, I live at a mile-high elevation, and I have lung cancer. So hiking wasn't the thing I used to do, but I didn't do that anymore. But I was absolutely firm I have to go for a hike. So my husband and I went out on a trail, and we picked a spot. Like, when we get over there, we'll turn around, because it was needed to be fairly moderate for me. When we got to our turnaround spot, I swear something changed in the sky. There was a dabbling, and I don't know, there was something changing in the sky. And Carol said to me, not through words, but through telepathy, she said, "Oh, Marlene, you're right. It is so beautiful." you're right. And in that moment, I was showered with, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a whole cone, like sun shower of complete, absolute, unconditional love. Like the most glorious, beautiful thing. And it felt exactly like what I've read of people describing when they've had near-death experiences. And I knew that was Carol's parting gift to me. One, so I wouldn't be afraid when it was my turn, because it will be my turn, whether it's sooner or later.
All of our turns.
That's the truth, right? So, but also so I could help other people not be afraid. Because if we had like even a slight glimmer of that, because I know, like I just know in the fabric of my being, that is what absolute reality is. Yes. And that's what all of this, including all of this, is made out of. And I just feel like if we had a glimpse of that in the world, like everything would be transformed. You know, so there's been a constant return, like choice, not to go into fear. Because I can't say that fear doesn't arise. Of course it does.
So many choices to
constant,
not return to fear.
Repeat is that, you know, I have to constantly return to source. And particularly when engaging in the medical, with medical community, which has been happening a lot lately, because while there is some usefulness there, I mean, that's not where the healing comes from. And it's definitely a fear-based system. And it's hard not to vibrate at that fear level when you're in it a lot. So it's more like surrendering to source, opening, like a flower.
It feels like you're making always, constantly, the choice not to go into anything but source.
Well, yes, and it's the choice to be alive that way, whether my body lives or not, in the future. So anyway, that's the crux of the story.
Is that your secret to what living well means? In order to die well, one must learn how to live well.
Well, I think you can't fully live. You can have a good life, but you can't fully live if you're afraid. And of course, the mother of all fears is the fear of death. Of course. And that there are all these small, subtle, unconscious ways that we choose fear instead of love, day in and day out. I still do too. I mean, I have to, it's an awareness that I have to keep in front of me. But we have an opportunity always. We can ask ourselves, am I doing this out of fear? Or am I doing this out of love? Even as simply as, what I feel like wearing today. I mean, is it because I fear I won't look good? Or is it because this lights me up today? Like a little formula for us that we can use to live by, I think.
I think that's wonderful. May I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Marlene? You obviously love your colours. Do you see love in a particular colour with other colours coming off it? Or is it different for different people and for different things?
I don't see it that way. It's more of knowing and sometimes a sensation. Mm-hmm. And I do see energy with people and in people and around people, but I don't see it in color. Interestingly, okay. I use color, obviously, but I don't really see it that way.
You feel it.
What inspires you to put that first color on a canvas? What motivates you to choose that particular color?
Well, that's an interesting question, because sometimes I think, ooh, yeah, I'm going to, like, I like this palette. I'm going to paint with these colors or this or that. But then it's just like an inspiration. Oh no, I need to grab that. I can't explain it. It's an intuition, and it's not premeditated.
Right.
Generally. And so I start with something, and, there might be some other things that light me up. And, and sometimes I do think a little logically about complementary colors and, colors that work together, and, but I just start painting. And there's this communication that goes on, and it starts showing me other things. And for me, it's like a big teacher, because I have to let go. When I am thinking about something, or then I try to do something with a painting, it doesn't feel the same. It's not as joyful for me. And it also just feels a little stale when it comes out.
Yeah, well, I think you're totally inspiring. I really do. I wish I could paint as well as you do. I'm trying to get into you, because you are surrounded by colour, and it's not the colour of the painting that's behind you. I believe in a lot of orange around people, because orange is a colour that I work with. And you seem to be surrounded with it. Have you worked with the sunset orangey colours often?
Yes.
The one you just started. The one you just started.
Well, it's turned into a different
all
painting.
Orange and red and sunset colors.
Yeah, it's turned into a different painting. But recently, a few days ago, I started painting, and it was like it's turned into something different. But it was like, I need orange
all around you. I can see it reflected in your face. I can see you're surrounded by beautiful orangey, sunsetty colours. It's absolutely fabulous. I'm interested to hear from you how other people feel about you in your journey through the cancer experience, and also through your paintings. What do you think they're getting from your paintings that you can't give them as a person with your lovely voice?
Well, I do write poetry also. So I'll pair paintings and poetry. I don't write them to go with each other.
Right.
But so there is a form of word expression that is really feels vital to me right now, as well as painting. Well, it's interesting, because I was painting for me initially. I didn't think I was ever going to show anybody anything, and at one point I posted something on Facebook, and then just felt really vulnerable and just shut my computer and wouldn't open it for a few days, wouldn't go on to see. And there was really a lovely response. And it shocked me, actually. And I started to realize that with creative endeavors, because I think we all have creative endeavors, like what you're doing is incredibly creative right now. And we all have our way of expressing that. It's a way of expressing the divine, and this dance of divine that we actually can do on earth, right? But I do think a lot of it seems to touch people, so that makes me happy. I do have a story, actually. I'll tell you a story of a recent painting I did. I was painting mainly in oils, and I recently took a little class with a woman who's a fantastic artist. Oh, she paints. I think she just paints the divine, and she's an abstract artist. And I started using, because she uses acrylics. I was like, okay, I'll play with acrylics, and it took me a bit to kind of start to get the hang of them. But I had started a painting, and I kind of kept going on it, and it just wasn't working. It just kind of I kept thinking, oh, I'm making it worse. It got flat and this and that. And so I put it away for like a week and a half or so. I didn't work on it anymore. And I asked for the angels to finish it for me, basically. And the day I finished it, there was a horrible tragedy where I used to live, and there was a mass shooting. And I didn't know anybody had died, but I heard something like this was going on, but I didn't know anybody died. And I didn't want to listen to any more right then. And I knew I needed to go paint. And I went down, asked for divine guidance on the painting, and in 15 minutes finished it. And it represents something that I can't explain and is beyond me. And I posted it the next day as a tribute to the victims of this. And a friend of mine who's a Reiki master messaged me right away and she said, wow. She said, last night I was doing Reiki for all of the people involved and for the entire city, for, all the shockwaves, for everything. And she said, what I saw was your painting when I was doing that. And so I was like, wow. And that's what moves me. I want to express something healing, something that's from the beyond. Even if it just touches one person, it's like, it's not my job to judge any of that or to know any of that, but it's my job to let it be expressed and be vulnerable enough to share it.
Yeah. I'm just amazed. I'm seeing all sorts of images in the picture behind you. It's almost as if I've got somebody looking at me over the top of your head. It's sort of, oh, come on. I think to be able to show people feelings like as deep and as meaningful as yours with your art is a magnificent gift. It really is. And you make me humble. I wish I could do the same thing. It's amazing what you're doing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And I have to say, I know that you are amazing. I mean, I have no doubt about that, and that you help so many people, and that's your gift, and that's your creative outlet. And maybe there are more, but we all have our piece.
I think you said the right word. If we can reassure one person, just one person, and make that fear dissipate, go away, then our life's work is finished. It's done. And if we can do more than one, then fine. All right. I never ever considered what I do in the same thing as an artist like yourself. I think I'm a channel, if you like, for other people to come forward. So it's not something I do for them. I am just there as a mouthpiece for who wants to come through. But you seem to have gathered every fiber of your being together and are able to just place it on the canvas. It's just amazing. It's wonderful. Really wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I feel like that's a channeled thing also. I'm the vehicle, and I use my particular body and ways with it, and it just happens to be the vehicle that makes me happy. So that's why I do.
And you can tell.
And it shows.
It really shows. Yes, and you can tell when it's there, and you can feel when it's not quite the way you know it can be.
Mhm.
Marlene, I just sort of sit here in the background and listen, and then to the last minute I come in and save the show. So yeah, this is just one of those occasions where you just want to listen. You want to listen to somebody's experience and the things that somebody has to say. I just sort of feel like I want to apologize to you for the level of human condition you must have had to endure by the way of dumb doctors, dumb things that people say trying to make you feel better. You know, it's like you can see it when you go to somebody's funeral. If you want to see a level of dumb that's through the roof, just listen to what people say to each other at a funeral. And I'm sure it must be the same thing whenever you get a diagnosis like that. Everybody wants to make you feel better, but they don't make you feel better. And just the fact that you have to go through 2 years of pain and a broken back before a doctor will take you seriously is something that I don't think I could survive.
And I think that people are so uncomfortable about death, and cancer and advanced cancer freaks them out because it could be them, it could be somebody and I just think that's people's awkwardness. And I had to learn, this was a good lesson for me, how to radically put myself first, because even during that phase, the difference between people who had an agenda and people who were willing to be present was huge. Even people I love dearly who, just really had strong feelings going on. And so I did actually not engage with some people because of that. But I was so used to holding space for others. I had been a healer and a body-centered therapist for years, and it just came naturally to me to hold space for people. And my friends would point out to me, it's like, no, you just were holding space for somebody else. That is not your job now. Everyone else has to hold space for you. If they can't do it, they shouldn't be around you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, really? Mm-hmm. So, it was a big lesson for me, and it was a valuable lesson. And it also makes me understand everybody has a different way with these kinds of things. What I did and my way of navigating it would not be somebody else's. And it's not like better or worse. It just has to be my way. Mm-hmm. And so I do think people say those kind of stupid things because they're just so uncomfortable. And I think that's because death is one of those taboo things in our culture. Like, you failed if you die, it's like no, it's going to happen to everybody. So if we can really, and there's people doing wonderful work around this, but if we can just lessen the fear a little bit, I think that will help. And I think I've been given this bonus round of life to maybe help with that a little bit.
Well, there's certainly no pure form of spirit communication than art. And you needn't look any further of proof of spirit than art. If you don't create art, you're affected by art. So one or the other. Mm-hmm. And it's something that separates us from every other being on this planet. You play Mozart to a goat, and it's not going to have the same effect as if you play Mozart to one of us. Even though I'm 100% sure goats are spiritual beings, but that's what makes us different. And I think you're definitely doing some spirit communication with your painting and your poetry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask you, Marlene? I keep getting the sound of these sleigh bells.
Also, I grew up in a Jewish family. We didn't do Christmas. And I don't know.
The more you're talking, the louder these are getting.
Do you think it's from me, or do you think it's from some other being communicating?
I think it's something that's around you. it's definitely not around me. It's something that is around you. It's like the orangeness, if you like. It's like as if it's sound and vision, if you know what I mean. I'm seeing the colour and I'm sort of hearing it like bells, like sleigh bells, and it's all around you, all around you. It's amazing.
I went ahead and I asked, and they said it's this version of angelic bell. Angelic bell.
I was wondering about that.
That's what's coming through. It is the angelic beneficence. That
so it's lovely.
Always there. Beautiful.
Good.
Just
it's
beautiful.
Like an audible aura or something like that.
It's like an audible aura.
It's just amazing to listen to it. It's I wish you could hear it. It's lovely.
I wish I could hear it too. I did once at a geomancy workshop. Do you know what geomancy is? Like the study of earth energies and different kinds of things. And there was a wonderful spot we were at, and I leaned up against a rock, a big boulder, and every time I leaned against it, I would hear like angelic bells, angelic sound.
Going again.
And then I would, when I moved away.
As you did that, it went. So I know what you heard. I know what you heard because I can hear it. That must have resonated with you. It must have stayed with you.
I think it did. I think it very much did, because I was like, am I imagining that? And I did it several times, and it was so lovely. It was like,
we sourced it.
Could you locate where the sound of the bells was emanating from?
When I heard them,
against the rock. Yeah,
right through.
Not really. It was just coming. It was my right side. I might have tried it with my left too. I can't remember, but it was my right side. My head against the boulder, and it wasn't loud, but it was like this angelic bell sound. It was really beautiful, and I thought, wow, there's some amazing energy in this place. And when I would step away, I wouldn't hear it, and then I would. So, I mean, I don't know where it was being sourced from.
That's what I wondered.
Or if it was being channeled through the earth and the rock.
That's what I was wondering, if you could get a sense. Yeah. Marion, can you get a sense of where the sound of the bells that you're hearing? Where's it
because it seems to go, I mean, this is my left ear, so it seems to be in like waves coming from this side, the left-hand side, and going straight through my body and going out the other side. It's like as if it's traveling. And the only way I like, you know, when you hear sleigh bells, we don't have sleigh bells, but when you see them on the films, and they're a long way away. So it's like that sweet, tinkly sort of,
that's
sound.
what I heard. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's and it's still all around you. Obviously, it's something that's permeated around you and probably comes forward when you're doing your colouring, when you're doing your painting. Amazing.
Most likely, yeah. I just feel very blessed and protected. Like there are a lot of beings available to help.
Yes.
I think you're helping them big time.
We had one experience in our home here where I knew angelic presence was taking place, and there was no doubt in my mind that and Sabina, who was also in the house with me, I asked her, I said, can you hear that? And I said, it almost sounds like a ringing of a single tone, like a bell, but without the sound of the strike to give it. It's just this. Yeah. And I said, it seems like it's coming from over there. And she said, I hear it too. She says, it's coming from over there. And then it was like, no, it's coming from, and we could not identify.
It was everywhere.
The location from where it was coming.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cool. That's why I asked.
Can I ask, Marlene, that, you know, the the image that I see before you, when you've finished whatever it is you're doing with it, can you show us? Can you put it on Facebook or send it to us via whatever, so that I can see it?
Which one?
The sunset one that you're doing. That's the one I'm thinking around.
This one probably isn't going to be a sunset, and a lot of the orange is gone now because I've painted many layers over it. But you just never know.
Well, I think that's the dance. That's the dance with the divine. That is the dance with life. It is, as you've described so poignantly in your own words, in the books that you're writing and in the poetry that you have even read for us, is the dance with death. We're inspired. We are comforted. For our friends and our viewers who are watching today, Marlene, where can they get to know you? Where can they find examples of your artwork and your poetry?
Well, probably the easiest place, because my last name is very long, probably the easiest place is to go to my website, which is marlenezart.com. And that's Marlene, Marlene, Z as in zebra, art.com.
Okay. Thank you so much. This has just been, when the doctors initially said, maybe a couple of months. And now you said we're coming on 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your dance with the divine, your intuition, your unique path that has brought about, you are a living miracle. And I want for everyone to know, you are our living miracle. I love you very much.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you, Anjali, for having me. And it's such a delight to meet both of you.
It's the honor is all ours. Really, really it is. It's wonderful. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you.